So this takes just a little bit. It says it's streaming live already. Do you see us? Because it's still trying to connect. Let me get there. All right. So, hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everything Horses and More live podcast. And you know who I am. And you know who's this way, next to me, this way. Sabrina, my lovely co-host. All right, so welcome back to day 2 of lunging horses, the good, the bad, and the wrong way. And so yesterday, we specifically were talking about and screen sharing one particular trainer. And I made it clear throughout yesterday's podcast that it was for educational purposes only. And I find that that particular trainer represents so much of traditional lunging out there. And so yesterday was really about traditional lunging, specifically dressage or English. And I really wanted to point out, or my main purpose yesterday and screen sharing and showing that particular video was to compare and contrast, just like today, and compare and contrast with the way I teach, but mostly because I want to train your eye. And so often when we are a new student or a student that is continuing our education, we are not learning properly, meaning we're not taking the time to sit down and train our eye or audit our instructor or our trainer while they're working with horses, or audit clinics, or go over content and materials, history, concepts and principles. We're not learning that way. We're always thrown straight into the lesson. And then of course, today we have, so many different YouTube videos to show us all the tips, tricks, techniques out there. And it's not that easy. There's so much that goes into learning, both for you and your horse. There's so much that goes into it. And that's really what I want to drive home with this entire month that we're dedicating to screen sharing and looking at the very popular mainstream training out there. So it's not really a debunking. I'm not here to really debunk or criticize, even though I can't help it. I really want to show you guys, why it's wrong. And fortunately, most of you that are here during these live podcasts, you're here because you already are committed to this way of being and working with horses that I'm showing you. So you care. But there's the rest of the world out there, and thank you, but it's the rest of the world out there we got to get to. We need to get this message out there. And the more of us that practice a more compassionate, humane way of training or developing our horses, actions speak louder than words. That will be the proof in and of itself. And if there's more and more of us out there walking the walk, not just talking the talk, it's going to help to influence other people, at least more people, so that we don't have to put our horses through what we're putting them through with so much. We're creating so much opposition in our horses, and resistance and fight and defensiveness, and we're triggering the sympathetic nervous system where the horse is on survival mode, freezing, shutting down, fighting, or going into flight mode. Not to mention what you guys were watching yesterday, is wrong, but it's really difficult for you as the horse owner to learn it that way. It's crazy. You're getting pulled all over the place. Your horse is pulling on you. You're not setting them up for success mentally or physically. You're not learning biomechanics. You're not training your eye to what correct movement should look like, relaxation, and how important relaxation is. So today we have a few smaller different lunging practices. Yesterday was more traditionally focused on classical dressage and more English equitation. That style of lunging is prevalent. We're going to look at more of a natural horsemanship today. And let me look at my videos here. We are also going to look at I pulled videos that, including yesterday, that are so prevalent. Like I've seen time and time again. I've witnessed my students going through or trying to relearn my way of lunging and starting out with the traditional or the natural horsemanship. So I basically pulled a lot of videos that represent a lot of you out there. In the last 10 plus years I've been doing this. This is what I've seen. This is what you guys tell me. This is what you've been taught. And so hopefully, again, for all of you that are here, this is a no-brainer. You're here because you agree with this method of mine, and most of you are already students, whether it's YouTube and you're self-learning or you've joined one of my courses. This whole month is, you guys already know it. You know, this is really dedicated to hopefully getting this podcast, because we're doing so well with our audio podcasts. You know, we're at 7,000 or more, and it's excellent. So basically 1,000 people a month are downloading the podcasts. So we've been streaming live to reach our Facebook groups, and then recording them obviously and uploading them to YouTube so that we can keep spreading awareness. And so before I begin today, this is a perfect example of one of the questions or emails that I received. I often receive, for years now, and this one came in from, and let me see, Anna. If Anna might be watching today, so I'm going to use her wonderful email. Anna's from Romania, and if you're here today or watching on YouTube, Anna, welcome back. But Anna had a question. She listened to yesterday's podcast and she had a question, which is just so typical. It's just normal. And I really feel for her. And there's a lot of you out there that are in a similar situation, especially in Europe, where it's just more expensive to own your own horse and to own property. So there's a lot of people, a lot of my European clients end up sharing a horse, leasing, or taking lessons. So they have a hard time when they find me, because, and you guys, you'll hear why in just a minute. So I wanted to read this email and this question because it definitely is going to reach out to so many of you out there. You'll definitely be able to relate to this. I certainly get these emails all the time, you guys, weekly, from my followers on YouTube or Facebook. All right. So hi, Caroline. My name is Anna, and I'm writing you from Romania. I just saw your live podcast on Facebook. This was yesterday, and I wanted to ask you something, but the question was too long to be written in a comment, so I decided to write you in an email instead. 4 months ago, I started to take riding lessons, and after seeing your videos on YouTube, I started to have some questions or doubts about the facility where I go to take lessons. I saw different horses getting spooked. So now, Anna, you know, you can definitely write in your question in the comments for Sabrina, all of you. I understand it can be really long typing this out in the comments, but don't hesitate, you guys. We love to take your questions. So Anna says, I saw different horses getting spooked in different situations. For example, by a kitten that entered the riding area, or by a plastic coffee cup that was taken by the wind, or by some children playing close to the riding area. So the horses were getting spooked constantly. The owner assured me that the horses are not bitten. I'm not quite sure what bitten means in Romania. Bitten and are very well treated, maybe not abused, and are very well treated, but they get easily spooked. I would like to continue to go there for relaxation. I have no intention to take classes in order to attend any kind of competition, but sometimes I feel unsafe. Do you believe that in this circumstance, I will be able to connect with the horse I'm leasing and help him ignore the surrounding triggers? Thank you very much for what you do and for the information you provide with your videos. Have a great day. So, well, I think we can all relate to spooky horses, huh? And there is no easy fix or trick, you guys. And I think the biggest thing I'm gonna drive home with that comment is, and we saw some of it in yesterday's video, is the horse spooking on the lunge, and the trainer / instructor telling all of us that, well, it's a new environment, he'll get used to it. And granted, getting used to new environments is all part of your horse getting familiar, getting comfortable. I get that, but it goes so much deeper than that. And that's the problem for so many of you, is you have, she represents the majority of your trainers, instructors. From what I've been told, and the little bit that I've experienced coming back into the horse world years ago, and believe me, it took 2 years to study. So I studied with a lot of people. And I just mean that I'm now a trainer, right? So I'm not really studying with anybody at this moment, but predominantly you all have had a trainer or an instructor like her who just tell you, and we're not done, we're going to use more of her videos, especially next week when we introduce the video of her giving an older rider a lesson on the rider's horse, and the horse is spooking. And this is we're bringing her up because this is your typical bullshit out there. They tell you to ride through it, push through it, or punish your horse. And punishing your horse doesn't always mean you're going to hit them or beat them. Or do some of the horrific things that people do, like tie them up for, hours because they bucked you off and ran back to the trailer, or tie them up in their stall with no food and water for the night. I mean, just ridiculousness. But you punish the horse by getting heavy in their mouth. You punish them by yanking the bit in their mouth and yanking them around. You're punishing them. So, part of, again, our revolution is to spread awareness that this is not acceptable. These horses spooking like this, it's not normal. And people need to understand that when you have a really well-rounded, healthy horse, when they're born, they're curious. They are predominantly curious. There is no big spook. Okay, so that's one of the big myths that Parelli talks about. Horses are born with whatever, jargon he uses all the time, claustrophobic, yada, yada, yada. And when you study wild horses or you raise young horses with no issues, they go into the freeze mode. They choose the freeze mode. So while that's a self-preservation mode, the freeze mode is instinctual, and for a wild horse, it gives them the ability to assess their surroundings. So there's a lot of thinking going on there, tremendous thinking going on. And the freeze mode it's not used like it is with our domesticated horses, where they choose the freeze mode to completely just shut down, withdraw, and check out. In the wild, the freeze mode just means the horse gets quiet so that their senses can heighten, especially their hearing and their smell. And of course, their eyesight. So they just get quiet. They get stoic. So they freeze physically so they can take in what's going on through their sensory processing. And of course, they're thinking. So yeah, we just have to start changing this. We really do. For the welfare of our horses. It goes so much deeper than just rescuing them and not being abusive. We have to change the language. We have to change the attitudes, the perceptions, the mindsets, the way we are handling them. So here's my response to Anna. I think that a lot of you, this will be good for a lot of you. So thank you for listening to the podcast. I wish there was an easy answer for you, and I'm afraid there isn't. And she responded, and it's not like I don't want to give Anna hope, but it is pretty black and white.
She's here.
Oh, good. Hi, Anna. And Anna, replied this morning, and Anna's listening right now. And she said, thank you. I just haven't had a chance to get back to you, Anna, in the email. So I wrote to Anna, the following reasons will make it near impossible for you to connect to your lesson horse. And this is for all of you out there. And even if your lesson horse is your own personal horse that is scared and your instructor keeps telling you to ride through it, push through it, you know, beat him on the butt every time he spooks from something. Real quick, I'm remembering an instance where I was, I hate to beat up on Parelli again. I was taking a clinic with a Parelli certified instructor many years ago, at least 10 years ago. And it was a cow clinic and it was up in Pennsylvania. And this is when I had my farm in Maryland. And Sundance was young, you guys. Oh my gosh, 4, 5, 6 years old, you know, just barely a riding foundation on her, if you want to even call it that. She really didn't have a foundation. I really did not put a thorough foundation on Sundance until I moved to Florida when she was 12. But long story short, she was a good, you know, good-minded horse, great on the trail. She did have some big spook though, a lack of confidence with some things. And we were warming the horses up. And one of the horses peed, and, you know, we're all on the rail of the arena, and she just refused to go through the urine. And she wasn't afraid of water or puddles or anything like that. But she did, I will say back then, Sundance was not a jumper. And what I mean by that is Sundance is a jumper. I mean, my 15-hand powerful quarter horse is not a hunter. She is a jumper. The mare can jump 4 feet, or she used to, and with perfect form, and she will fly through those jumps because she loves to run. So, but I didn't realize all of this. I just knew that out on the trail, she hated ditches. And if the water, you know, she didn't mind a stream, or if it was a big area, she didn't mind that. But it was kind of that depth perception that really got her. So she just refused to go through the urine. And I didn't know, I thought maybe it was because it was urine. And honestly, that is an issue. Some horses don't want to go through that, and it's natural. But this particular clinician, instructor was just like, you know, take her back and make her go through it. Take her back and make her go through it. And I was learning, I was coming back to horses. This is part of that 2-year sabbatical. And I was doing a lot of things, you know, learning a lot of different things. Actually, this might've been after the 2-year sabbatical. I was still learning a lot of things in the 2 years, but this was particularly, this was in 2006. So it was right after, right around that time. And I remember I would take her back gently, through and around that area, but she just refused. And I wasn't going to kick her and force her and get in her face about it or anything. But it was just, it's just a reminder of, you know, the typical response that we all receive, and it's the wrong response. And we all have a responsibility to our horses, including the horses that we are leasing or taking lessons on. You know, that's one of the things I want to empower all of you is you have every right to say no. You have every right to not agree and not do it. So don't go against your gut. And I didn't go against my gut. I took her back around it a couple of times, but I never forced her to go through it. And I didn't make it a big deal. I just thought, well, we'll go back several times and stop, let you stop. You know, I was very aware of thresholds with horses, and I respected that with her. I also knew that she could blow and she could go up in the air off all fours. And while I did have a Western saddle on because this was a cow clinic, you know, I just didn't want to go there. So I actually ended up going to this guy a couple of times for these clinics, and I actually left in the middle of one of them because I had an altercation with him. Mm-hmm. And I came, and that was the second clinic with him, and I yanked both my horses out of the clinic. And I came back for a third because he was one of the best at team penning, and my 2 quarter horses, I just love working cattle, and Smokey did too. And I knew it was going to help Sundance in a lot of ways. And it was the third clinic that he actually used me to, yeah, we got into it in a professional way, and it's a long story, but yeah, I tell you, you got to stand up for yourself. I know it's hard for a lot of you, but stand up for the horse at least, okay? If you don't want confrontation, all you have to do is politely say no. You don't have to get into it with anybody. You just decline. You just refuse, and you say, no, I'm not going to handle it this way. I'm not going to treat the horse this way. And you don't have to know a better way. Just listen to your gut and take care of the horse. So this is what I said to Anna. These are the reasons why it's going to be nearly impossible for her to connect to this lesson horse, or for any of you, if this is your personal horse. Trust is number one area a horse like your lesson horse needs when they're spooky, scared, to be able to connect and focus on their person or rider. And in this situation, this horse doesn't trust anyone. I don't know the full history, but I'm going to assume that this lesson horse, he doesn't belong to anyone. His heart doesn't belong to anyone. And so, you know, that's everything right there. So he's just being ridden by multiple people all the time that are there for their own purposes. They're really not there like you, Anna, who truly want to connect. That's beautiful. So he knows that. So there is no way he's going to open himself up to trust. And that's number one. And so for those of you that have your own horse and their heart belongs to you and your heart belongs to theirs, it's still going to be nearly impossible because of X, Y, and Z, because it's always about trust. So what have you done in the past that's broken that level of trust with your horse? You know, maybe you went against your gut continuously because you were afraid of confrontation, or you didn't know what the right answer was or the resolution. So you just kept putting yourself in the same situation with your horse, with that instructor, that clinician. And, you know, that's going to destroy trust right there. Your horse is not going to trust you in certain situations to take care of himself. So he just goes into survival mode and he takes care of himself. The second is the horse's environment, surroundings, and handling. They will not support what you want for him. Therefore, your interaction will go unnoticed, ignored. So predominantly, if 95% of the time this horse is handled by the same type of people, and let's just say they're rough and they don't care, and 95% of the time he's always, or 100% of the time he's always in that arena, he lives there, or that area, he lives there. So then you come in 5% of the time each week, and it's just not enough for him to want to connect, right? Because he predominantly is always in that state of mind. He's always in that environment. So why should he even tease himself? I mean, you know, I mean it. I'm not anthropomorphizing about this with horses. There's, you know, plenty of people that have started my method over the years and have taken lessons with me, and either they've sold their horse for whatever reason, or they stopped doing my work. And it's kind of like once you start this way of thinking and believing and understanding and making it happen, there's no turning back. And the same goes for the horses. And the few times that this has happened, the horses will regress like you would not believe. And they are angry. And whatever was wrong before is going to be 10 times worse, because they got a taste of the good life, of how life should really be with you in this way of being and thinking. And then they just got taken, stripped, pulled right out of it and thrown back into the horror of their old life. And it's real. I've seen depression. I've seen horses almost suicidal, running through, you know, just losing it. So it's really a lot to think about, you guys. Horses are something, I tell you.
I have a question.
Give me one moment. Let me finish this, hon. So thank you, though. So 3, this horse, your lesson horse, lives in a constant sympathetic state where his nervous system produces high levels of adrenaline. And so, and again, remember, this is for those of you who own your own horse and you keep putting them in these types of lessons, or they are in with a trainer where the trainer is doing all the wrong things and you may not even know, and your horse is constantly on survival mode. And so they're producing such high levels of adrenaline that it becomes traumatic to the nervous system. And then they're just ricocheting off. It's a trigger after a trigger. And the fourth would be, he has many different experiences daily with different riders, which can cause high levels of anxiety, depression, and when untreated, emotional and nervous system damage. So this is why it's the reality, the facts of why it's going to be so hard. But it doesn't mean, Anna, or any of you out there, that you can't love on this horse. You can't touch him gently, with your heart, and show him that you care. I mean, that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and give him some hope. Real quick, I'm going to close this door. We're getting truckloads of dirt delivered today for the new arena. Real quick, I saw a post on Facebook as I was looking yesterday, taking a little mental break through my work, and there was a post by an energy healer who was out in California, and she was called in. I'm not going to get the story totally right because there's so many things I'm doing all the time, so forgive me, but basically it was a beautiful 2-year-old Warlander, buckskin Warlander stallion. Warlander is a relatively new breed, and it's a cross between Frisian and Andalusian. And this horse was magnificent looking, and I could cry talking about it. But one picture, he's lying down in the stall, just flat out, and it doesn't look right. And he's on shavings, and she took a picture, his rump is here, and and then his head was in the dark. It just didn't look right. It made me that's what caught my eye. And then the other picture side by side was a video of him playing with one of those horse balls, those big balls, and in gymnastics. I mean, he was moving beautifully. So I'm like, okay, compare and contrast. Why is he laying down? This is a really dark picture. So I read. And basically the story was, she was called out as a last ditch effort to take a look at this horse and see if she couldn't do some energy work on him. And when she came to see him, that was the picture on the left where he's sprawled out in this dark stall. And what had happened is he's 2 years old, he's a stallion, he got his head caught in the bars of the stall. And he struggled, obviously. I don't know how he got free, but he had damaged himself. And he didn't take any skin off, but he was so swollen that he couldn't open his eyes, and it was hard for him to swallow. And it had done some nerve damage to his back hind. And so he had been laying down. The shavings were new, actually, but he had been laying down like this for, I don't know how long, weeks. And it wasn't the owner that called her. The owner didn't care. So she used this stallion for breeding purposes only, and trust me, he's freaking magnificent. And I did reach out to her to tell me to let me know what happens. Just physically, and the color, just beautiful. So she was there working for a while in California. So she spent time with the owner's permission working on him, and she got him. That's the picture to the right where he's playing with the ball and looks absolutely normal and beautiful, and the movements are spectacular. And it was a beautiful message that she wrote about her experience. And I'm bringing this up because this is the truth. This is the truth about horses. This horse was laying there depressed. He had no hope to live. No one cared about him. He could barely drink and eat. He couldn't even see. He could barely move, and nobody cared. No vet was called, no nothing. And it happened to be, I forget who, like I said, she was working in the area, and somebody knew her, and they knew this horse and the situation. So she came in and did the work and had a lot of support. And I'm not sure if she did it pro bono. But she said, I couldn't live with letting this go. This just absolutely disgusted her and broke her heart. But the point I'm bringing it up is because horses they're just so emotionally complex, and they feel so much. And it saddens me to hear all the time about lesson horses. It's just so sad what they go through. I know that they're there for us, and you're taking lessons do your best to give back to this horse and feed his soul. So that's all I have to say about that. Yes, you had a question?
Yes, Allison. We are looking for the right horse to bring home and bond with, but in the meantime want to continue our lessons. I feel torn doing so for the lack of connection with the lesson horse. Any thoughts on that? It almost makes me feel bad for taking lessons.
Hi, Allison. That's a great question. And I'm going to be real upfront about that's why I can't ride my students' horses. So an example is I mean, good for you guys looking for your own horse, but I don't know how you could take lessons. I couldn't do it. And when I first meet a student and they have a riding challenge, or the horse has a riding challenge with a rider, I certainly don't ride the horse, because to me, it's like raping them emotionally, mentally, and physically. I want to get to know the horse. And that's what my method teaches. And then I want permission to get on that horse. And that's what my method teaches, is how we develop that relationship and that desire and that level of safety and connection. So I have nothing to say, or all I can say is don't take lessons, because it's heartbreaking. And what are you learning in a lesson? I mean, that's the other big point. What are you learning in a lesson? How to ride? Honestly, you guys, take my mastery membership course. Everything is offered there. Why would you want a special? It's almost like it's contradicting to yourself. You know, it's a little bit hypocritical. And I'm going to call it what it is. Why would you be doing that, which is to me a disservice to that lesson horse? Because your consciousness has been raised now. It's like you can never go back. You are awake now, as I say in my program, and the horses are awake. And once they taste how magnificent it can feel, and you already are looking for that connection, how could you not have that with your lesson horse? Only available to like mastery membership students. Like, I don't give lessons on my horses. They're not lesson horses, they're teachers. And I want my students to experience the amazing benefits and value of developing what I teach, so that they can have that in everything they do with their horse. So yeah, sorry, it's not, I just wouldn't do it. And it's going to get harder for you. Then you're just, and I don't know why, you're doing lessons. I don't know what you're looking for. I think, everything needs to change. I don't think there should be lesson horses. I really don't. I never have. So yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't let nobody ride my horse. So
Yeah.
I reckon I feel the same.
Unless it's probably your best friend, or, like you ride my horses.
Yes,
and that's another point too, is like Sabrina may not have the skill level, obviously, that I have, but all that matters to my horses is that you have that level of consciousness, that you are aware and you care. Mm-hmm. I just want the heart. As long as you care, that's all that matters. They'll take care of your ass.
You listen.
And you listen. Thank you, Sabrina. And you listen. And Sabrina's always like, are you listening and loving?
Yes.
And she may not have all the technique down when she's riding them bareback and we go out. It doesn't matter though. They're still going to take care of her because she cares. She's listening. She's part of our family. So, I mean, there's so many wonderful dynamics. Yeah. Sorry. I know it's hard. I know you want that fix. It's like Anna wants that therapy, but you can go about it differently. So maybe, Allison, I can say the same thing I'm saying to Anna, is take the lesson, but do it differently, which means give the horse a lot of love and a lot of compassion. I don't know how easy it's going to be for them to trust you enough to want to connect. It might break their heart. Just the stories and the things I see are so heartbreaking with all animals, I tell you, especially our pets, what we do to our older dogs and dropping them off, and our cats and our horses when they're old, and we starve them and we forget about the old. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
As if they're no good to us once we can't use them anymore. It's so, people are sick. I tell you, we are a sick species. Mm-hmm. Our ego gets in the way of everything.
I have another question.
Yes, another question. Great. I love them.
Annalie, I have a young 4.5-year-old horse that is just being started. He's very suspicious about anything new, and any new thing is an issue for him. He hates the plow mask. He smells everything you bring near him, and if something new like an ointment, he won't let it near him. He hates the garden hose and water spray, no matter how slow and gentle I go. He suffers from itch, so he needs to be given treatments for the itch and wounds where he has scratched or bitten himself.
Ooh.
I feel like it's ruining our relationship. What advice can you give me for giving him the care he needs without breaking his trust?
Oh, wow. This is Annalise.
Yes, ma'am. Annalie.
Annalie, that's beautiful. That's a deep one, you guys. Thank you for your questions. So listen, my first question is, he's 4 years old, and did you raise him? Where does he come from? Because how he's acting and reacting and responding is not normal. So if you raised him, I just need to know, we'll start from there. Or did you get him from someone else? Because there's a lot of factors. Sometimes, is he a well-bred horse? Does he have papers? Because sometimes, like well-bred dogs, there can be some inbred traits, and some things can neurologically be wrong with the horse. Did the horse have an accident, run at night in the field and flip over? I mean, your horse has got some pretty severe reactions, and maybe he's just so, when a horse doesn't feel good. I've got a young horse here that's 2.5, Blue, and he also suffers from horrible skin allergies. So I'm finally I might have to take him to a specialist to get tested. But one of the things I can advise, because we've tried all the medicated shampoos and all the stuff you can think of, and he's happy and he's healthy, and that would be my kitten, and he's not showing any of the behaviors that your horse is. So I would look at changing his feed program, and you can email me about this, to all natural and take all the sugars out completely. That could help, because that could be building up or destroying his immune system. So we are going to put my guy on Zyrtec. Yep, Zyrtec. I did that for one of my labs. So for skin and allergies. So we're going to start him on Zyrtec. And if that doesn't work, then I'll go to the specialist and we'll test him, because you have to do a process of elimination here. And that's what I'm talking about when your horse has any issues. And we're just going to focus on his skin issue right now, because he could just be so uncomfortable. Everything bothers him. And that could be producing the behavior. So my gut tells me, let's just focus on the skin issue, not the training issue and the behaviors that he has. And let's start eliminating all sugar and carbs. And you can email me, and it's a really simple organic feed. It's all natural, and it's recommended by a nutritional specialist here in Florida that we follow. So let's start there, take about 2 weeks. And then, so the topical stuff is going to be a temporary relief for him. But let's get the feed right. Okay. Let's get the internal going well. Because I think he's just responding to the hose and everything else, because his skin is just, he's just wants to go out of his skin. Everything bothers him so much. Yes.
A couple comments.
Okay.
Now somebody commented, so I lost her. Okay. I got him from someone else. He was in the field with other geldings.
Mm-hmm.
He is responding to special shampoo on natural feet, tried Zyrtec, but did not work.
Okay. Oh, you did try Zyrtec. Yeah. I don't think it's going to work for my guy. Okay. So you got him from someone else. So I think, let's try the working from the inside out. We haven't gotten to emotions yet, but you did buy him from someone else, and he was out in the field with other geldings. So I don't know what that means, though. He could have been pretty feral, never handled, or was somebody handling him and working with him on a daily basis, even just handling him as a young horse, because a lot of that is going to develop his behaviors. If someone is handling these horses wrong, and let's say your horse just happens to be innately a more sensitive young horse, and the person that is handling them at feeding or grooming or for whatever is just really rough, then they're going to compound that situation and just make this horse even more sensitive. So that could be contributing. But I think the feed's going to be a big deal. And then I would have him, like I'm going to probably end up taking my young guy, have him to a specialist, an allergy specialist. But again, I would go with the feed. And we could talk more. I know my mastery membership would be able to solve a lot more of this, my program, because it certainly has for Blue. When Blue came to me at 8 months old, he's 2.5 now. And I have pictures of him or videos of him on YouTube. I mean, he was an emotional wreck. Okay. I mean, he had ulcers, he was cribbing, he was 8 months old, he was anxious, he was spooky. I mean, he was your typical like hot thoroughbred. And he came to me to get worked with. He wasn't mine. And she wanted to get rid of him. You know, she just wanted to sell him, get rid of him. He is a super intelligent, super cool horse. And as I often say in my videos and teachings, when you have a super sensitive and super intelligent horse, you have double whammy. And if we don't nurture and develop and guide that sensitivity and intelligence, it turns into some of your most reactive horses. So there's a lot going on here, and you can email me. And that's really all I got to say about that. Yes. Anybody else?
No, she says it's only hay, beet pulp, and natural supplements. And then Lydia replied to her saying, eliminate the beet pulp.
Thank you, Lydia. Yeah, beet pulp is bullshit, you guys. It's all about inflammation.
Oh, yeah.
And so beet pulp, even for your older horses. So really what we recommend, and Lydia's one of the students too, what we recommend is it's all natural. It is alfalfa pellets with soybean meal. And so, and you can use this with older horses who have teeth problems because you're going to soak it, obviously. So beet pulp is bullshit. It just adds inflammation and water weight. It is really bad. And it has sugar. So it just, yeah. And you don't need supplements. Right now, let's just strip everything because nothing's working and start from scratch. But you need the alfalfa soaked pellets with soybean meal, because the soybean meal is the real secret here. The alfalfa is the totally organic, natural, but the soybean is what's going to help the horse's body rebalance itself and help it restore and process all of the wonderful nutrients that are in the alfalfa. And as far as hay, you got to be careful about your hay. You don't want a hay, maybe he's allergic to your hay, and you don't want a hay with high sugar. I mean, sugar is horrible. Sugar is like the #1 thing for all of us that just screws up our immune system, our livers, everything. So you might have to detox him completely. But I'm gonna move on, see if we have another question, or at least get to our videos.
No.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go to screen sharing, and let's take a look. Let me get out of here and on here, and let's go to here. Wonderful. Okay, so here we've got the videos. And I promised that I would look at Parelli. So let's look at Train Your Horse to Circle with Pat Parelli.
All right, girl. Now.
So I'm going to mute his voice because it's not really important what he says, because often he'll say some nice things and he'll do the opposite. And I'm not saying Pat's not nice. I think Pat's brilliant. But the not so nice will just be a lack of consideration, okay? And I'll bring up why. So let's just take a look at this. He's gonna train your horse to circle. That's what he calls this video. And why? What's so big about the circle? Okay, so let's take a look at it. Okay. Serena, did you see that?
No, I don't see it yet.
Come on over here. Sit with me real quick. Did you guys see that? Now, he calls it train your horse to circle. All right. So he takes, so obviously I'm assuming, but I think he's going to come on this strong because the horse has some issue. I don't know. There's no we don't see her working with her horse. So I don't know why he comes on this strong, but he comes on pretty damn strong. Maybe we'll listen, see what he has to say about this. Oh my gosh. This is the shit you guys end up learning. And this is the shit I get from you guys when you come to me as former Parelli or natural horsemanship. Anybody that uses these stupid carrot sticks that are bad for your wrists and 10 times heavier than a lunge whip and don't do anything to help guide the horse's body. Okay, here we go.
Look at his brown eyes. The eyes. He's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, this chestnut horse,
Yeah.
Sabrina, does not look happy.
No.
Very suspicious and very like, what the F is going on?
Yes.
Here we go. And that's Pat's horse.
All right, girl. Now, what she's got to be.
So he's like, oh, hi, girl. Talks real nice to her. So let's turn this up.
Be able to do. We got to be able to walk backwards. 1, 2. You see how I mean it?
Holy shit. So look at how this horse is now running and leaning, and think it, I mean, honestly, why I'm bringing this up is because so often we get stuck with our horses like this that escalate, and we're being taught to handle the situations or escalate or have a behavior that we don't like. So we're taught to just come on really strong, and then the horse starts moving horribly. And if we do this for too long, meaning months or years, we are just stressing the horse's body so bad and stressing their mind so bad.
You were kind of just flailing around. And then I'm walking over here and 1.
Wow.
And then over here and.
So what would let me just let it run.
1, 2, 3. I'm moving something. I'm just doing something, okay? Come on, no, don't do that, sweetheart. Don't do that. Something, it's going to be bad. So I'm going to stand still. And then, oh my God, it's going to be bad if you're doing. Then stand still.
So basically, this comes back to the principles of pressure and release. I'm starting to understand that this horse maybe doesn't want to go in a circle, and she keeps changing direction. So he's just going to match that horse. But he overmatches it. Anytime the horse starts to panic like this, you're doing way too much. So I understand matching energy or shutting the energy down. And I have a wonderful technique, strategy, exercise for horses that panic and switch directions a lot on you when you're lunging free or lunging online, but it's not like this. And I don't know about you all, but I can feel him. I mean, his body language is not good, and he's very aggressive, and he's coming on way too strong, and it's so unnecessary for this horse. And now maybe this horse has created or been allowed by its owner to create a habit. I'm not going to say bad habit, because it's not. This horse learned this because the woman was ineffective. She wasn't effective. But this isn't the way you need to change that. It's not.
And then, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
So the horse keeps choosing to change direction, and he just gets like crazy.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would go the other way.
But the horse just stopped to ask a question there. So this is wrong. So the horse actually stopped the pattern and stops right here with a beautiful 2 ears and eyes on you. Right, girls in my program? What do we always want? That beautiful salute where the horse is asking you a question. This is when I would be, well, I would have never done what he's doing, but I'd be like, good girl, yes. Thank you for tuning into me. Thank you for connecting to me. Thank you for asking a question. I would be rewarding, praising. I would be spending a lot of time here, maybe at least 5 minutes, allowing the horse to process, feel the positive energy. I would never have been that negative to begin with. He's way too emotional. You don't want to put emotion in here except positive. Good girl for trying. Good girl, that was the right answer. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Doesn't mean she's not going to repeat the old pattern, but it'll get easier and easier to replace that old pattern of her doing whatever she's doing for whatever reason when you keep creating a positive pattern. So he just completely ignores or misses or ignores, because I think at this level he's so arrogant and tired, he doesn't give a shit anymore. So he just completely ignores the horse asking a question and stopping herself. Because don't we want the horse to stop? Don't we want to teach the horse to stop themselves, to think? I mean, wow.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would go the other way.
But go what way? She's asking a question because she's stuck. She doesn't understand what she's supposed to do because the owner has created confusion. The owner has not been a clear leader. So it's obvious that the circle, whatever circle, the horse never wanted to go in a circle. We don't know the history. And the owner hasn't been able to stop the horse from changing direction and panicking. I mean, come on. But this is what happens. You know, this is what so many trainers do and instructors do when they get hold of your horse. It's all mechanical. There is no conversation. There is never an allowance for true connection. No one is taking the time to develop these horses and to teach them to get out of the sympathetic, which this horse is in, the adrenaline and instincts, and into the parasympathetic with relaxation and where they're able to start thinking. I mean, this is just all so wrong, and it's always taught this way.
So many comments.
So let me play. It breaks my heart. Not to mention this horse is on a really short line. Remember what I talked about yesterday? We only use a 12-foot line. But believe me, that's only when the horse can start walking relaxed. And then we walk with it it's a V, I call it a V. Classical dressage, when you're long line lunging, you create, like she said, you'll create a triangle or a V so that you're more towards the hind end with your whip, quietly pushing the hind end. And then you've got the lead rope. Obviously, your left hand, if you're going left, is attached to the horse's nose.
Karen,
Hold on.
they cannot see the video.
Oh, you can't see the video?
No.
Oh, no. Okay, well, hold on. Let me go back. Let's screen share. We'll go back. I'll start all over. Let me know, guys, if you can see the video. Let me know.
Sabrina's about to find out. I did.
I'm just going to wait, see if you guys can see.
Okay, all we see, no. Okay, now we went back. Okay, still waiting. I've not laughed so hard and so long.
Who said that?
Becky.
Yeah, just let us know if you can see the video.
I see a video.
All right.
No. I see it.
It's paused.
Yep, it's paused from the beginning.
Yep, we're starting over.
Okay.
So just type in there. Yep, Sabrina was watching it with me. Sabrina's going to type that we are starting over. And you already heard what I had to say. So now you guys get to watch, the few minutes until you catch up with where I was. It's horrible. Okay, good. Here it goes.
All right, girl. Now, what she's got to be able to do, we've got to be able to walk backwards. 1, 2. You see how I mean it? You were kind of just flailing it around. And then I'm walking over here, and 1.
It's awful.
And then over here.
Awful.
And 1, 2, 3. I'm moving. I'm just doing something, okay? Come on, no, don't do that, sweetheart. Don't do that. Something, it's going to be bad. So I'm going to stand still. And then, oh my God, it's going to be bad if you're doing. And then stand still. And then, oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would.
Here's where the horse asks a question. This is pretty much where we stopped. And he screws it up.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would go the other way.
All right, so this is kind of where we stopped too. Because I've started talking about the short lunge, the short lead rope that he's working with. So if you're going to be working with a horse that gets escalated, you guys, and is changing direction. And this happens a lot from horrible round penning, whether it's the free lunge or lunging online. You know, you need to go with that. You need to have a longer line than 12 foot if you're not as skilled as I am. And I always recommend that you put your horse in a round pen to do this, because they're going to want to pull away from you in this big arena and get the, especially if you're acting like Pat is. I mean, that's just brute force. I mean, how many of us could hold this beautiful, sweet, innocent horse? How many of us women could hold that 1,000+ pound horse as it's pulling away from us, struggling and panicking? You can't. So you set yourself up for success by putting yourself in a small paddock or a round pen where you've got, you know, a smaller structure to keep the horse from pulling you all over the place, a longer line. And then I have specific strategies to help with horses that panic. But what's so horrifying about this video, there's many things, is that he's teaching all of you that this is how you handle a horse. And we don't have a background on how this has happened. I would like to have seen the owner show us what the problem is and give us some history first. Because if you don't have that, then you all assume, when you especially admire Parelli and you're coming, you know, you're looking for answers and you're looking for YouTube videos, or you're looking for trainers, and trainers are going to mirror this as it's going to be acceptable to them. You're going to mirror it too. And for all the wrong reasons. You need to know so much more about why this horse is doing this. And so anyway, let's keep playing it. I learned this too. Firsthand experience. Parelli was, for those of you that don't know, was one of the first clinicians and trainers I sought out when I got back into horses. And that's because I was overly ambitious to get back in and make a living, not through Parelli. Didn't want to be certified, but natural horsemanship was the most akin to the spiritual. Well, it wasn't spiritual, but I was spiritual, and there was nothing else out there that had a program, a step-by-step program, and, you know, that was natural, so to speak. But for me, I learned immediately with Smokey and Legend, my Trinity, that you couldn't come on strong like that. I mean, my horses would escalate, and Smokey was such a disaster and would pull you. So I quickly, you know, I learned a lot. I came down to Florida for 3 months in 2005 with Legend to study hands-on, and then I was done. I was like, this is not, what I'm learning is not what I want. And it's not going to work for a lot of these horses that already have so many problems, because all you're doing is escalating it. So it was good experience of learning what not to do.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, because every time you do that, I go crazy.
So basically, I know exactly what he's doing because I've been taught this. You know, he's basically saying he's trying to change the horse's mind so that every time it keeps going back to the old pattern of what it's been doing, he's producing so much pressure and making it so uncomfortable. And basically, Pat would say, this is how you're going to make your idea become the horse's idea. So it's just not the right way. Okay. I get the purpose of it, but it's not the right way. And because I learned this way, I learned better ways, because this did not feel good for me either, and it did not work for any of the traumatized horses.
You go around, I stand still.
So now this poor horse is just running a very small circle. It's not straight, it's not balanced. This is not good for the horse. Now the horse is on so much adrenaline. It's going to take you, the average person who's not Pat, who's not me, who's not a trainer, that doesn't have a lot of experience or skill, it's going to take you forever to undo this in your horse, because the horse is now learning another new pattern, and it's not a good one, and it's on adrenaline. There's no relaxation. So all the woman cares about is that the horse is first time.
But see, now she's going. What she was training you to kind of fumble and flop and flop. Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, because I'll go crazy. This is why we call it the circling game, not lunging. Lunging, you keep going around. You do work as hard, if not harder, than the horse does. The circling game, you stand here, Make a phone call. Look at your nails.
Oh my God.
Check your underarms.
Now listen, this is a very current video. I don't know how old it is. What I can't stand about Parelli, and I'm a marketing person, okay guys? That was my other business, is how much bullshit they put out there. So back when I was studying, they never talked about lunging. They just keep reinventing themselves. He's still teaching and producing the same material, but because Linda was a marketing expert and specialist, big CEO of, I think, a major makeup company when she was in Australia before she met Pat. So Linda knows how to market shit, okay? So all they keep doing is reinventing the language, and they'll use whatever mainstream, current, latest buzzword is out there, but they're still selling the same shit. Why would I want my horse to be panicking like this and going around? If you are a lunging expert and it's all about creating what I talk about all the time, self-carriage, balance, straightness, relaxation, freedom in the movement, everything I talked about yesterday. And we know Linda is a big dressage student. Why would I even allow this to happen? It absolutely contradicts not just the mental ability of the horse, because the horse is so stressed now. How's a horse going to know the difference between a circling game and lunging? Do you see the bullshit? How's the horse going to know the difference? How do you know the difference? But he's going to bring it up because he knows he's got to compete now, especially with COVID. All of a sudden you start seeing Parelli sponsored ads all over Facebook now because they've got to switch their game to compete. So anyway, anybody have any questions about what you're seeing? This is wrong. And this is one of the I had many reasons why I stopped Parelli. I almost quit halfway through my 3 months with them. And I had a discussion with Linda about it. You know, they only know what they know. They'll tell you, oh, we're all about the relationship. And actually, Caroline, we've been watching your class, and we're going to take time out. Well, you want to know why they were going to take time out? Because there was about 5 of us that were going to quit. And I was, go figure, the leader of this group. And in my group was the president of Parelli, who's still president today, his fiance, who's amazing. And she was planted as a spy. Well, you'll do that in big corporations. You will plant people in a good way. It's like, what is that show that we have out there, Undercover Boss? Because you want to go in and know what's really going on. You want to know how your students really feel about the work and what your employees are really doing. Well, she was planted so that they could fix some things. That bullshit.
Aaron
Aaron
said it was better with no video.
It was better with no video. I love you, Aaron. Oh, you're such a straight shooter, girl. So yeah, this is disgusting.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Now my horse is just aimlessly going around in a circle with no purpose, no connection. Nothing is good. It just knows that it better keep going. And of course, here's pressure and release. He'll take the pressure off of her so that it's the release that teaches. It's disgusting. And I see
You don't
this.
want me to go nuts again.
You know, I see this in everything. Well, believe me, I was learning from everybody, you guys, back in the day. I want to know what everybody was doing. And another one was John Lyons. When I came out in 2009 as a clinician, when I got accepted and started doing the expos in 2009, January, it was John Lyons and Timonium, Maryland. They've since closed that venue, thank God. But it was John Lyons that, you know, was one of the first international clinicians I'd been watching for years, every year, at these Horse World Expos in Maryland and Pennsylvania. But it was John Lyons that, you know, was watching me and telling me what a good job I was doing. And I love John Lyons. I thought he was so kind and gentle with his horses. I didn't really understand what he was doing. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. And to me, there wasn't about connection, but it was all of his certified instructors. I ended up getting their students broken down horses ended up coming to me. And it's horrible because they were not only learning, you know, everybody's trying to compete and keep up with each other. So you have Parelli used to always go to Timonium too back in the day before he got too big for it in Harrisburg and Pennsylvania. And so, you know, these top clinicians, international clinicians, were keeping an eye on each other as competitors and either learning a little bit from each other or stealing from each other. And then I would see these new certified John Lyons instructors out there as I was developing or had developed my method already, but I was out there too as a clinician. And it's like, well, you just learned that from Parelli and you don't even know what the hell you're doing. And then you're producing all these panicky horses because you want to look like Parelli's people who just stand there all cocky while their horse is doing this rhythmic trot or canter. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's horrible. Human beings are horrible sometimes.
Yes, yes.
Look at the horse looking outside the circle.
Whole different thing.
There's no connection. There's no developing the body.
Now let's see if we can get her to come back.
And let's look like a predator and spin the hiney around.
Please. And then come on over. Yeah, I've
She's a
invited you
beautiful
in.
horse. Oh my gosh. So there we go. 2 minutes. Yes. All right. So let's get out of this video. Any comments or questions about that?
A lot of comments.
I know. That's because you all know this stuff. That's why you're here.
Did you
know
know that Pat and Linda were divorced?
They are?
Yeah.
Wait, Pat and Linda are divorced, you guys?
Yeah.
Let me go back to screen
Karen,
sharing.
Linda and Pat are no longer together. Interesting. And then I just checked it, and I think it said September
Of what year?
this year.
Doesn't surprise me.
It is now official that 2020 is completely off the charts with Craig, who had Pat and Linda divorcing the 1st of December.
Wow.
Yeah, that's, wow.
All right. I'm going to show you another one real quick, you guys, because this is also, I have some of my mastery membership students used to belong to this particular method.
Hi, this is Will Favorite from Art to Ride, and I'm here today with Dave Murphy, lunging his horse Zoe. We've had quite a few questions have come in on the internet for us about lunging, people wanting to start their horses. So I thought this would...
So,
Hold on just a second. We might only see the video again for the your document desktop.
okay, let me
We don't-
stop.
I'm not seeing the video.
Thank you, guys. Let's go back and screen share again. Oh, I know why. I've got to wait till I play the movie. It's me, guys. Now you should be able to just let me know if you see the,
Mhm.
I'm going to play it over.
Okay.
Okay.
See it in my-
So you guys, those of you that were here yesterday, why don't you tell me what you see? Good, bad, and the wrong, if there's any good.
Hi, this is Will Favorite from Art to Ride, and I'm here today with Dave Murphy, lunging his horse Zoe. We've had quite a few questions have come in on the internet for us about lunging, people wanting to start their horses. So I thought this would be a good opportunity, since you can watch someone, Dave here, who's not quite as good at that as I am, who might make some mistakes, and we can talk about what he's doing right and what he's doing wrong. So as I said in my blog before, or in some of my answers to some of you, the most important thing that you have to establish when you're lunging a horse, the first thing you have to establish is that the horse will simply stay out at the end of the line. So before you worry about whether the horse is trotting or will walk or whoa, especially, as I said, most people worry about whoa. You need to worry about go, meaning.
Okay. Yes.
I think it's hard for us to see a little bit because it keeps stopping and going.
Okay.
Just saying.
Oh yeah, we have our lovely rural satellite out here, so we have constant interruptions with our
Yeah,
internet.
So it's like stop, then it goes a little bit, stop.
So basically, you know, what we're looking at, it's not me stopping the video, but it was 43 seconds I played. And we're looking at a more traditional lunging method because I can tell by the long lunge line and the way that the guy is holding the lunge line. And the horse has a surcicle. So a surcicle is going to be, my arrow is going to point because it's a little bit blurry video. The surcicle is something that you attach all the way around like a girth around the horse, and it has little D-rings on it. and their D-rings are big enough for you to put draw reins through. So this horse has reins attached to the surcicle, and it's to help the horse longitudinally stretch. So right now, this is the number one thing I want to point out, which is contradicting to the professional who's narrating this, not the owner. The owner is the student. So if you listen or replay this, you'll hear the narrator, the trainer, say, this is whatever his name is from Art to Ride. And I have my student here, yada, yada, yada. The number one thing I want to point out is you should never be doing this to your horse. I don't care if it's walking, trotting, or cantering right now. Why? Because we just discussed this yesterday. It's no different than riding your horse and being in their face the whole time and calling that collection. So this is called a forced frame. They are mechanically forcing this horse into a frame, and the frame should come naturally. The frame comes naturally. What is a frame? The nice bascule, meaning the whole top line is round. We call it longitudinal stretching. That will happen in time. It cannot be made to happen. It should not be made to happen. It should not happen the first day. It will come in time through mental and physical relaxation. That's why I call it Pilates. So one of our new courses that we're going to be developing next year in January is Pilates for horses, is all about lunging. Let's just get through this year. We're so far behind already. It's all good with all the content that we have. So you shouldn't be forcing this. Remember what we talked about yesterday? Everything comes from the hind end first. And even though this guy would debate with me that he understands that, then why are you teaching the opposite? So everything should be about teaching the horse to develop strength and balance in the hind end. And when they do, and the only way they really can do is when they relax their frame and stretch. And so when this all happens, it happens organically. It happens naturally. The horse will come into a natural frame. If you keep tying them down, you can just see in this video that the horse is downhill. The horse is downhill. The horse is heavy on its forehand. You can see that. I froze this frame here. So you can see that the horse is down. Now, we do have videos of mine where you'll see, and let me see if I can get to it. I'm going to have to do my screen share again differently. So let me show Lovey. I know I'm going to have to do the screen share again. So this is my OTTB course. So let's mute that. And I know I'm going to have to stop the share and we're going to share again. So I make sure I get this on. So let's get to Love Bug. So this is many years ago, 2017, 3 years ago. So she's 7. Boy, she looks a lot different now, doesn't she? Okay, I'm gonna speed it up and we're gonna get to what we wanna see. And it's really hard. It took a long time to get Lovey to walk, months, and I used to have to keep her online. But let's just look at the biomechanics of this. Let me see if I can get her trotting. I'm sure. Okay, hold on. There we go. Look at how nice and collected that trot is. Look how rhythmic, regular. Look at how she's stretching. And when she does stretch, hold on, right there. Ah, that's a beautiful picture. Look at how level she is. And look at how my arrow is pointing, her shoulder is raised. So you don't see her really downhill, and you don't see, I've got to train your eye, a lot of weight put on that leg. So let's just keep playing it. And if you watch her movement, she's got a lot of action, doesn't she? So that means that your horse's footfall, like being a dancer, a ballerina, the more strength and balance you have as a dancer, the lighter you get in your step. Same with the horses. And so you'll take a horse for the first time and you'll be lunging them, whether freely or online, and they'll be real heavy, real heavy. They'll be plowing into the ground. And you'll know in time that you can, this is called cadence. You can change the tempo through balance and strength. And what happens is the action of the footfall changes. And that's called cadence. Cadence is more about the action than it is the tempo, the regularity of the beat. It's more about the action, the movement, the lighter, the more free the movement is. And so you're seeing a lot of cadence in Lovey, a lot of physical self-regulation. She's able to regulate the rhythm, maintain the speed. And I just keep stopping it so you guys can get frames of her top line and how she's traveling. She's still a little on the forehand. You can see that. You can see how she's still a little. So what'll happen, and this is years ago, is you're going to see more of the butt come underneath of a horse that's more balanced and strong. And even at the trot, they'll be lifting. That's what's so beautiful about watching Sundance. When she stretches enough to get into it, you will actually see Sundance's just whole shoulder lift. She has so much ability as a quarter horse, a movement, really amazing. A lot of lift and freedom. So this is years ago. So I just want to train your eye to how Lovey's still a little downhill. Let's stop though, and I don't know how, a new share. Let me see if I can go to a new share. No, because see, I have to go back and get the old video. So let me just close out of this. Let me go back and get Art to Ride. Tips on lunging. Ay, ay, ay. So let me stop this and get the new share. I don't know if you guys can see this. Maybe I did it right.
I see it on Zoom.
So you really can see how downhill this horse is. So what you want to see eventually is where my arrow is. You'd like to see the withers up here where my arrow is and the haunches down low. When the haunches are down low, or at least if the top line is level, that means the haunches are they're stretching and the horse is bending its hock at the same time. So it's got more elasticity in the movement and it's really stretching and getting well underneath. So this horse might be tracking and it might be longitudinally stretching, but out of the 4 areas that it needs, there's only 2 right now. So it still needs strength and balance. So just because this looks, oh, I see the bend, I see the bascule, I see the horse creating the V and tracking, because the body is so downhill still, you know that the horse doesn't have appropriate strength or balance, which means it doesn't have self-carriage, which means the movement is not changed, okay? And the horse can only hold it for a few strides, which is natural in the beginning. I love that the guy is not whipping the whip around and causing a lot of stimulation for the horse to go forward, that he's pretty neutral. That's wonderful. That's perfect.
People worry about whoa. You need to worry about go, meaning the horse will go out to the end of the line. So the whip is your leg essentially, and you're basically moving the horse into your hand, which is your rein. And if that's done correctly, the horse will move out. And
he's saying exact same thing that yesterday's instructor said, that your whip is the leg. This is classical. And yeah, but I don't look at it like that, because I don't teach you to use your leg when you ride. Your leg will only be for upper level, and even by the time you get the upper level so well, then everything is through the influence of your weight, your personal body. It has nothing to do with your leg anymore. So, but the whip is what is driving or pushing the horse forward. And so in my work, we're just talking about the whip being an extension of you and your chakras, your energy is not your leg. But this is traditional classical training in this way. And classical meaning, yeah, that's where I differ. That's where I will separate from classical training. And there's many times I will separate from classical training. And it's always to the benefit of the horse, and because it doesn't have to be this way. That's why you see so many dressage, all the dressage riders constantly pumping their horse with their legs, especially at the piaffe, when you should, like with Sundance, we are still developing our piaffe. Remember, we haven't been working in 2 years. So it's all through, we start on the ground through energy and play and rhythm, and then we just take that to the ride. So she's like, yep, I know what that feels like. I'm going to mirror that. I mean, come on. Pretty cool, huh? Instead of forcing the horse into it and oh, you got to get their stomach sucked up and get their back round. So just keep kicking left, right, left, right, left, right. Oh my God, it's micromanaging. It's dulling the horse out. It's horrible. If you do everything correctly the way I teach, your horse will get there organically and naturally with none of these aids, the minimal aids.
Stay out there. And then the most important thing.
And so I don't know why they just want forward movement, just like yesterday too. But why do you want forward movement when the horse is moving wrong? Wrong one, there's no relaxation. I mean, this horse is pretty relaxed, a lot different than the OTDB yesterday. But why? One, you got to have relaxation. Two, the horse isn't straight. How are you going to teach straight right now? Straight should begin at the walk. Always. Big, loose, stretchy walk.
Next important thing, once you can keep them out there, then you can begin to worry about what gait the horse is in and the quality of that gait.
Now, I don't agree with that, but I do agree with when I'm setting you guys up to learn lunging, there's a few simple things you need to remember. One, you want the horse to go in one direction, and you have to be aware of your position of pushing the horse forward. So your body position is very important to lunging, meaning you don't want to be in front of the drive line. And I go through this in my program. So your position is important. The horse needs to know what direction to go in, and you need to be consistent with that direction. And two, you need to be in control of the speed. And unfortunately, so many of our horses are just been wrecked at lunging. So getting them to walk and relax is near impossible. That's the hardest thing most of you have to figure out and work through. And my students are doing that now. You're going through those challenges already with your horses in the program because they've been so messed up.
But the first thing that has to happen, as I said, is the horse simply has to stay out there. Now, can you see how Dave now has let the horse become a little too slow? So he needs to keep his whip up and send her on forward so she'll go out into the reins a little more, like that. So he has to be a little more active. Now, notice that he's always...
See, they're doing it all so wrong. And so what's going to happen is this horse isn't developing any self-carriage. And so when you go to ride this horse, and I've ridden a lot of upper-level dressage horses, oh my gosh, you're going to be holding them the whole time because they don't know how to hold up their front end. This is what creates so much, not to mention you're taught wrong when you go to ride. So I'm going to stop there. I think it does a great job. This is another really popular method right now. Wow. I showed you some of the top popular methods in training right now, natural and classical. And this is wrong. Yes.
Karen said, I work with Art to Ride method, and the reason I tried it is because the backs of the horses are amazing. But I think to keep the nose so low for so long, many hours of training, too much time in the forehand and too much stress on the forelegs. So I quit and went searching again.
Good for you, Karen. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good for you. So you all saw that comment. Karen said she did Art to Ride, and because the top lines look so beautiful, and it was way too much long and low and being held down long and low and stress on the forehand. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, trotting doesn't happen for until your horse is ready to trot, and it can take weeks to months, you guys. And Karen, you're working with a rehab right now, Santos. So Karen's one of my students in Mastery Membership. So, you can't even begin to just do a normal lunge with him, so to speak, because he's got a lot of triggers. And yeah, it's hard. I mean, that Santos represents most of the horses out there. And even when I've rehabilitated horses at second and third level dressage, getting them to get off their forehand is, and leaning the whole time is just, it's a lot of work, a lot of retraining the horse's body and retraining their mind. So they may not be panicking anymore and have those types of triggers, but they have so many, to me, the wrong learned movement. And it's a shame. I don't even know that much about Art to Ride, except now Karen's another Art to Ride, former Art to Ride student. I don't know why. I don't know what the history is with this and why they're training like that. Yeah, don't know. Okay, y'all. I hope you got some education out of that. And if it didn't, maybe it just validated you guys and that you're in the right place. And third, please share this work. Just share it. Share it on your personal Facebook pages. You can't force, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. So you can't force other people to see what they're not ready to see. But we can just keep it out there, like my YouTube channel's out there, and hope that, and we're going to be doing a big marketing. I'll talk about it in my Friday webinar, but I hired my marketing team that I fired my marketing team that I just hired at the beginning.
Say, you hired him?
I fired them. I just hired them the beginning of October, and in 3 weeks, it was a disaster. So my team and I are back to doing all the work. That's Sabrina, Janine number 2, and me. And Tina, but Tina's got her own work cut out with my stuff. So it's really Janine, me, and Sabrina. So we're praying to God we get the new launch for the Mastery membership out before Thanksgiving, which means I'll have constant YouTube ads and Facebook ads, and we have new campaign videos, and we're going to refresh in the whole Mastery membership landing page because it's old. So it's exciting, but we just got to get it done. Oh, finally. All right. Wow, I can't believe it's Wednesday. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. God bless you. I'm exhausted. I was up like the rest of us, biting my fingernails all night and waking up at 2 and 4 in the morning, and because of our election. So yeah, we're tired. But may you always be one with your horse. Don't be afraid to send me, don't hesitate to send me any questions or comments. And we are always looking for, to improve ourselves in everything we do. So don't hesitate to say, hey, Caroline, thought you could have handled it differently this way or that way, or whatever. We're always open. Or I'll tell you to go pound sand. You know me. I'm a straight shooter too. If I think it's inappropriate, or I'm just like, yeah. But no, you guys know me. I'm pretty real and pretty honest. All right. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next Tuesday. And then we'll see the Mastery membership students Friday for our private webinar. All right. Mwah. Love you guys. Bye.